Alongside Brent Hubbs, I'm Austin Price for the 2-minute drill. Tennessee loses to Florida 38-14. Tennessee led this football game 14-10. Drew up some great plays, Brent, but just not enough. Too many mistakes. Coach Heupel saying afterwards that you can't make the amount of mistakes they made tonight against a good football team like Florida. Some promise, but I also understand, you got to be more crisp, and they'll have to be a lot more crisp when they go on the road next week to beat Missouri.
Well, we'll talk about Missouri and the concerns there with some of the injuries in a minute, but when you look at this game tonight, it wasn't just penalties. It was, again, missed open receivers, dropped balls, missed opportunities, missed some tackles. I think they blew some assignments on contain. That was very frustrating to Rodney Garner. Again, when you're a 3-touchdown underdog, which is essentially what they were in this game, you can't make those kind of mistakes. And you don't blame the guy on one player, but the drop by Callaway on 4th down was huge because you got a chance to answer there and make that a one-possession game. And as you say, keep hanging around. After that drop, Tennessee wasn't the same. Defensively, they couldn't really get any stops. And then offensively, it felt like they were kind of pressing a good bit and just lost all rhythm.
Yeah, it just felt like, at times, and I commented this on when we were in the live game thread, Tennessee ran the ball more effectively than Alabama did at times. I mean, were you shocked at how well they were able to run it and stick it between the tackles at times?
Yeah, I was. And I don't want to take anything away from Tennessee. I don't think Florida was nearly as crisp as they were a week ago, which you kind of expected. But I thought that was a positive there. Now, the concern is Cooper Mays re-aggravates the ankle. How does that affect you moving forward? But I really, to open the second half, 7 straight runs for 40 yards. Moving the football and kind of establishing themselves. And, again, I think there's some good things to take away from it, but Tennessee fans are tired of moral victories. They're tired of good things. They're tired of, hey, this is promising. You're in that ball game. You got the lead. You got a chance to tie it at the half. You miss a field goal. You just had to make more plays than what they made tonight.
The margin of error is razor thin. The margin of error on the offensive line is razor thin. We've talked about that all year. It was pretty clear tonight that the re-addition of Cooper Mays and moving Jerome Carvin back to guard was a plus. That's their best 5 now. They just get really thin when he's not out there.
Well, and how much did he re-aggravate the ankle tonight? Because he obviously didn't finish the game, and then you don't have Hendon Hooker at the end of the game. Where is he going to be at moving forward? He left and went to the locker room to be further evaluated. So we'll see where those two guys are in a week as you go back on the road to take on a Missouri team that I think you look at and say, hey, that's a winnable football game for Tennessee. But to win that, they're going to need everybody on board and everybody on hand, and they have got to grow from this game. I mean, they can't lick their wounds and talk about coulda, woulda, shoulda. They got to really grow forward from this game on both sides of the ball.
Lastly, I thought the safety play was poor tonight, secondary in general, but safeties especially. You surprised they didn't give some of those young kids a look when Tennessee was out of reach there the last half a quarter or so?
Well, I mean, I think they were trying to hold that score a little bit there. I mean, the problem that you had is that Trayvon Flowers was your leading tackler. And in the second half, what happened is your front 7 got pushed around, and it was all safeties making plays. All about safeties making tackles. Way too many tackles had to be made by the safeties downhill in the run game after a 7 or 8 yard gain. I thought Tennessee kind of ran out of gas on defense. I just thought that they were kind of empty in the tank. We heard Rodney Garner talking about the tank being emptied. Tyler Barron was not the same after his injury early in the ball game. I just think they missed a lot of tackles. They had some open space issues at the safety spot, at some other spots as well. Those are things that have to continue to be addressed for this team moving forward.
And for all the hype about Byron Young, been ineffective really through 2 weeks. Just hadn't been able to make a lot of plays.
Yeah, and I thought this was a really hard game for him and would be coming in. There's a lot that they're asking the defensive ends to read with contain and everything. And again, I'll be curious to see what his snap count ultimately ended up being. Not playing those first 2 games, I think, is really hurting, Byron Young at this point. They're not going to play a team next week that's just straight drop back, pin your ears back, and go on 3rd down either. That's the adjustment to playing in the SEC with all the RPO stuff.
He's Brent Hubbs. I'm Austin Price for the 2-minute drill.